Make sure the talk is done now. Time to start back the work now. All the talk done, all the talk done. Work nation!
We fed up by these people and all the bag of lies and everything that they're doing wrong, they're trying to disguise.
Always pointing fingers, never wanna take the blame.
We frustrated now, don't want no more, and we ain't taking it again.
Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them and the lies. Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause the country need to shine. Talk done.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true.
Talk done.
Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you. Come on.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you.
Work nation to the world. Come on.
All these years of pressure, agony and pain, but we work with them and we cope with them and we feel the blunt of the strain.
Now we the people start crying out. We can't take it no more. So election day when you ink your finger is UNC you're voting for.
Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them and the lies. Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause the country need to shine. Talk done.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true.
Talk done.
Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you.
Work nation. This is how we work. Come on. Tell them what we deal with.
We don't talk the talk, we just walk the walk. We don't make no joke when it's time to work.
Katrina,
We don't talk the talk,
what you say?
we just walk the walk.
Tell them.
We don't make no joke when it's time to work. Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause we're sick of them and the lies. Talk done. Let's get to work again, cause the country need to shine. Talk done.
Let's get to work again. Come on, people, you know it's true.
Talk done.
Let's get to work again, cause the UNC works for you.
From there we start the engine. UNC have the plan to build a brighter future for Twin Island.
Come on everybody, and you know it's true. It's time to start work again, and the UNC works for you. Talk done. Talk done. Talk done. Talk done. Talk done.
Work nation.
We stand united in the belief that if you empower a community, the community empowers the country.
We are the party that gave every child a secondary school education since 2001.
By building more schools in 11 years than others did in 40. We believe that no child,
Rich or poor, should be left behind.
which is why we give every Form 1 student a laptop to expand their minds and their dreams.
We are the party that put police cars back on the streets.
And gave the police a $1,000 bonus because we believe that we should support the persons who are protecting you.
We are the party that reduced the murder rate to its lowest in 14 years. We expanded GATE, stopped the property tax, and increased maternity leave.
We are the party that invested in you and your community by investing in schools, community centers, lighted parks, 24-hour health centers, and the most extensive road repair program in decades.
We believe that education is always a solution and that no one should have to pick between sending their child to school or buying food.
We are the party that works for you. We are the first responders in every situation, working to deliver a better standard of living for you and your family.
And most importantly, we have confidence in you, the people of Trinidad and Tobago. This is not a campaign, it's a movement. a movement based on building communities and strengthening families.
Come out and join us, and together we will get the nation working and moving again. Our children will once again have access to gate and technology.
We will improve healthcare.
By cutting the time it takes to see a doctor in an emergency, we will establish a senior citizen unit in every major hospital and staff the hospital with the doctors and nurses you need to create a first-class healthcare system. We will focus on creating high-paying jobs, fixing our laws to remove red tape, and ensuring that you and your family are safer. We will reduce corporate taxes to jumpstart the economy, create a special investment zone along the East-West corridor, and work with entrepreneurs to build a digital economy. This is an investment in your community to move the nation forward and get TNT working again.
Whether you are from 4th Street in Barataria to Railway Road in Dow Village, from Green Street in Tunapuna to Clark Road in Debe, from La Hoketa to Moruga, from Mayaro to Scarborough, we are one people with the same dreams of a better tomorrow. And when we stand together, we win together. We are UNC and proud.
Everybody now, let's go. Come on, come on. Hey. Whoa, oh, whoa, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Whoa, oh, yeah, yeah.
It's time to make a difference. It's time to turn that page. We got to do the right things if we want brighter days. Cause things ain't getting easy and the road ahead is tough. It's up to you and I to make the madness stop.
Every day the things getting harder, and every day the things getting rough, and every day they hike the food prices and they implementing more tax for the sake of our twin nation and the youth of the next generation. Let's stand united, show we not divided. Let's show them now and send them a message now.
Show them that we're the voice of hope.
Send them a message now.
Show them that our country ain't no joke.
Send them a message now.
Show them that we're the ones who care.
Send them a message now.
Oh, 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 yeah, yeah. From a distance, look at the picture. Tell me what you see. An abstract of destruction to destroy you and me. We got to do the right thing. We got to make that move. Cause if we don't act fast on this, we're the ones who lose.
Every day the things getting harder, and every day the things getting rough, and every day they hike the food prices and they implementing more tax for the sake of our twin nation and the youth of the next generation. Let's stand united, show we not divided. Let's show them now and send them a message now.
Show them that we are the voice of hope.
Send them a message now.
Show them that our country ain't no joke.
Send them a message now.
Show them that we are the ones who care.
Send them a message now.
Oh, 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 yeah, yeah.
Decency and in order, and we give you thanks. In Jesus' name, amen.
You may have your seats. Now I would like to welcome our Deputy Mayor, Councillor for Cedars, Chairman, Coordinator for Point Fortin Constituency, Mr. Shankar Tilakson.
Good evening and welcome to all. So as we welcome the Point Fortin and Library constituency to our budget consultation that our political leader had mandated us to have in all constituency, we are here tonight not for you to hear from us, but we are willing to hear from you in terms of what you would want to see in the national budget 2024-2025 fiscal package. This is a very important session, and we have been going around all constituencies within Trinidad and Tobago, having these consultations and hearing the experience from constituents in terms of what is happening in your constituency to the extent Trinidad and Tobago. We want to hear your story tonight. We want to hear what is happening, what the citizen is feeling in terms of jobs, in terms of crime, and what is your experience. So our political leader, in response to the Minister of Finance, will be able to actually properly document and have a meaningful representation in the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago when her time is due after the budget is read. So tonight we have at the head table, as we welcome executive member of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, no stranger to the Point Fortin constituency, Ernesto Kiza. Let's put a hand. And a stalwart also in Point Fortin to the extent Trinidad and Tobago, and I always call him the Honorable Leo Bradshaw, in wealth of experience. So these are our two speakers, and we want to actually at least cut the time as short as possible in terms of their speaking time to hear from you. So I know for a fact there's a wealth, and then we have one more speaker on the way. I hope he is in traffic. That's Mr. Dennis Latif. He is the the president of the Southern Football Association and regional manager of Tiger Tanks. I hope that he will reach here on time. Based on communicated with him, he's trying his best to reach down here on time. So with this, as we go straight into the first speaker, I welcome Mr. Bradshaw to the podium to give his contribution.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I realize that the PA system is a bit subdued. So if you're not hearing me, just put up your hand, please. Ladies and gentlemen, I find this is an important and signal honor, right? To be asked to address you, right? On things that are likely to matter in the political leaders' response to the budget. Now, let me say right away, that's good. Yeah, let me say right away that the budget debate is wide-ranging. The members of parliament can speak on anything, any matter that arises or is likely to arise in Trinidad and Tobago. So if you have something that you feel should be done or something that should not be done or something that should not continue, feel free, right, to express yourself this evening. Now, I had to decide on what I would focus on. I was born in Point Fortin. I was educated in Point Fortin. I worked in Point Fortin. I live in Point Fortin. And I think I'm about to die in Point Fortin. Not right away. The point is that Point Fortin is basically an oil town, or used to be an oil town. And we have to be careful about that. There are a number of plants, hydrocarbon plants in Point Fortin, that are no longer operating. How many of you knew about the TBTL plant? Trinidad Bulk Traders Limited. That plant is like brand new. It's about 5 or 6 years old. It was commissioned to produce ethanol. Ethanol is a substitute or an enhancer for gasoline. At the time that the plant was built, there was a huge demand for ethanol as an additive to gasoline in the United States. That has changed because the Americans came up with a very good substitute that is cheaper and easier to produce, so the ethanol plant stands there doing nothing. How do you make ethanol? They were bringing in material, right, from Brazil, corn that has been fermented, cane juice that has been fermented, and from that they would distill and produce ethanol. You don't want to get into all the chemistry of how that is done. Just look at it as a plant that was designed to produce ethanol that still stands there, that is non-operative. The funny thing is, an ethanol plant can be used to make rum very, very easily. It's the same process, and the plant is lined with stainless steel and all of that, but nobody is thinking that it could be reactivated in a different form. Second, the Point Fortin refinery. I grew up in the Point Fortin refinery. When I got there, the plant used to operate, the refinery used to operate at about 35,000 barrels a day. The plant was upgraded. We had two crude distillers. One crude distiller was shut down and the other one was upgraded, and I ran that plant at 100,000 barrels a day. 100,000 barrels a day. It was owned and operated by Shell. Lo and behold, the government took over the plant, and all kinds of things came up. Management, in my opinion, was the real problem, and the plant went down to 40,000 barrels a day whenever it operated. So they got bright and they sent all the crude up to Point-à-Pierre, and Point-à-Pierre was refining the crude from Point Fortin. Where is Point-à-Pierre now? Point-à-Pierre refinery is also shut down. So my dear folks, we are in some deep trouble, aren't we? Let me tell you something else about Point-à-Pierre. I worked up there for 3 years, and I am convinced that the only problem with Point-à-Pierre was the management. They blame the union, but whenever a union is strong, it's only because management is weak, and that caused the shutdown of Point-à-Pierre. The other thing that you have to look at is the LNG plants. There are 4 LNG plants, train 1, 2, 3, and 4. Train 1 is not operating now. There's not enough gas to supply the plant. I didn't hear you. All right, but the problem with train 1, apart from the gas, right, not being available, is that there is no market that cannot be filled with the production of train 1, 2, 3, and 4. Let me tell you something about train 1, 2, 3, and 4. When train 4 was built, there was a public relations exercise where the developers went around telling us that the plant is safe, don't worry, and all of that. They built a 56-inch diameter pipeline to take gas from the East Coast to Point Fortin. 56 inches, a big plant, a big line. Most of you could walk through that line without bending. Now, questions came up. How long is the line going to be in operation? And they tried to dodge. And then they said, well, in areas where the line is passing through developed housing, the thickness of the line is sufficient. What is the thickness? 1.2 inches. And elsewhere, what is the thickness of the line? 0.9 inches. Now that seems to make sense. But then the question came up, how long is that line designed to last? Guess what the figure is? 20 years. 20 years. So in another 15 years, that line is going to be beyond its design use, its design life. So what do you think is going to happen to train 2, 3, and 4? Conclude, therefore, that Point Fortin is in deep, deep trouble. What can we do to get out of that? You can develop additional gas fields. And those gas fields are not in Point Fortin, they're going to be on the East Coast. And some thought is being given to it. But I hear the Minister of Energy talking about gas from Venezuela, gas from Venezuela. You know what's happening in Venezuela today? The police are shooting people in the streets for protesting, right? Do you think that is not going to overflow, right, into Trinidad with that gas deal? So we should not be relying heavily, as the government is doing, on gas from Venezuela. What else do we have? Point Fortin, fortunately, extending to Lubre and Guapo, produces very heavy crude. That crude is ideal for producing bitumen. You don't produce crude from any bitumen. You could, but the problem is quality. And the crudes that are being processed, right, in Barbados and Jamaica are waxy crudes, and waxy crudes are not good for bitumen. And that's where we are getting our crude from. That's why the roads are being paved and breaking up in 6 months' time. The crude that is available in the Deep South is ideal for producing bitumen. We have about 20,000 barrels of heavy crude coming from the Deep South. And from that, you could produce as much as 15,000 barrels a day. That will allow us, excuse me, that will allow us enough crude, bitumen rather, not only for our own use, but for export as well. And I want to recommend the government, to the opposition, that should be very heavy on their proposal when they speak about what Point Fortin can do or what can be done in Point Fortin. But for you in Point Fortin, I recommend that the plant be put in Lubre. Why Lubre? Because Lubre produces the best quality paving asphalt in the world. But it's not used in its raw form. If you want to use it, you have to blend it with bitumen. So put the plant in Lubre where bitumen is available, easily available, and the port facilities will allow for export of bitumen as well. So for those of you who have questions that might arise from what I'm saying, or anything that might rest on your mind relating to the oil industry, feel free, take note. I'm not going to continue for very much longer, but I'll be free and willing to to try to answer any queries that you may have after the presentations of the other speakers. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
And we could do better than that. Let me really shake him up, because Mr. Bradshaw, like I said, a wealth of knowledge that we have and his experience that we would tap into. And based on his presentation, we could safely say, not safely say, well, with a force, state that the PNM has set back this country almost 17 years into 2006 level in terms of our GDP. And that is something that we are here to make sure that we set in Point Fortin in the Deep South, make sure and set that foundation so that when we continue to get into government, create and put back Point Fortin on the map of Trinidad and Tobago because of what has actually happened on the PNM. I want to recognize this evening the Councillor for Otaheite-Rusilac, Javed Mohammed, from the Sipara Borough Corporation. Let's put our hands on welcome. And I know he will bring greetings from the Lubre constituency. So I welcome you to give 5 minutes. I know when you give these councillors and them a little chance, 5 minutes to bring greetings and to at least share some experience what is happening within the Otaheite-Rusilac area, which falls part of the Lubre constituency. Welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy. A pleasant good night to all. Today, I want to say how fortunate we are to have an opposition that really and truly comes down to the ground to get your thoughts and to represent you in the House of Parliament. All right? And this is an initiative led by our political leader, and it truly is a reflection of who this party is all about. And being from Lubre, being from Point Fortin, quite often you would hear persons from the other side, the PNM, speaking on behalf of the citizens of this area. And unfortunately, they don't echo the true sentiments of the citizens of Lubre and Point Fortin. And that is where we are here as representatives, both at local and at a national level, to let your voices be heard. And this is a way for you all to send that message loud and clear. So I would encourage each and every one of you to voice your opinions. Tell us what is really affecting you so that the opposition could fight for your right to be first-class citizens like every other PNM constituency citizens. All right, so you do have a voice. Unfortunately, not the ones that are supposed to represent you right now, but in 2025, that could all change. All right? So we need you all to voice your opinion and let us, as the opposition, represent you. All right? So I just encourage each and every one of you, because there are a lot of things that is affected this southwestern peninsula, right? And it goes, there is so much things that could be said here, but I would like to leave that up to you as the citizens to say. As your representative for part of La Brea, I know exactly what my burgesses go through on a day-to-day life, or their day-to-day lives. And it is so disheartening to know that we at the corporation at a local government level is not getting what we supposed to get to actually represent you and to give you what is deserving to you. All right? But I have all hopes that that will change pretty soon. We just need to do what is supposed to be done and get these people out of office so that real representation come your way. All right, so have a pleasant night and feel free to voice your opinion when you are asked to. Thanks.
See why I give him 5 minutes? He asked for 3. So again, put your hands up, give a hearty round of applause to this councillor. And just to give you some feedback, what the situation is in terms of when, what the council was speaking about. As the financial chair of the finance meeting at the Siparia Borough Corporation, it tells you what struggle we have to go through in terms of our finances. What struggle we have to go through with our finances. And you know, it's a day-to-day, every single statutory meeting we go and we battle. It's a battle we go to ensure that a pothole is being repaired or a drain is being cleaned with the resources that is limited to the Siparia Borough Corporation. Because on one hand, you're hearing that the Minister of Works and Transport is disclaiming his ownership and responsibility to major watercourses and also clearing of major watercourses to make sure that we manage the flooding when our side drains and other outfalls are maintained with by the corporation. The Ministry of Works, the Minister of Works has failed in his responsibility and now shifting the responsibility to local government, councillors and borough corporations and so on. So those are some of the things that we express in public health. Recently, you would have seen we take up the ownership in terms of fighting dengue outbreak within the borough of Siparia, straight down to, well, the borough is so big. It extended from Siparia straight to Ikakas, come back to La Brea, while we have smaller borough corporations with more resources that we continue to suffer and strain. Some 86,000 burgesses we're responsible for within the Siparia Borough Corporation. And we stress and strain with our allocation in terms of timely release and in terms of how we go forward. When the Minister of Local Government speak about allocations from the Ministry of Finance, he give you allocation, not releases. It's within his ministry and his responsibility to have timely release when we ask or request those releases to have the burgesses being taken care of in our routine maintenance and continue to have our development plan in terms of the Siparia Borough Corporation. We have just changed our name from the Borough Corporation, from regional corporation to borough, we end up with the same budget, nothing extra. So the whole big question is then why we just have that change of name, not given the resources and additional manpower that we can deal and bring the Siparia Borough Corporation as a flagship borough within the Southwest Peninsula. So those are some of the things that we would want to see in the national budget in terms of in local government, and we ask the Minister of Local Government to step up his game in terms of giving the regional corporation the resources to deal with our day-to-day routine maintenance and continue to maintain and raise the standard of living within your municipality so that we can deliver. So as I want to bring out our featured speaker, a man who is no stranger to the Point Fortin constituency, a man who has continued to be in the trenches with us. I was fortunate to be under his stewardship on the Trinma Oilfield Workers Trade Union branch. Today is elevated. Due to the closure, or as we were fired from Petrotrin, I always make the point that we were fireys from Petrotrin, and I know he will go into details in some of those areas. A man who continued to serve the community in a way that selfless and fearless in terms of ensuring that things happen within the Point Fortin constituency to the extent Trinidad and Tobago. I want to welcome to the podium today our comrade Ernesto Kiza from the Oilfield Workers Trade Union. Welcome to the podium, comrade.
Mr. Chairman, Councillor Shankar Tilak Singh of the Siparia Borough Corporation, to Mr. Leonard Bradshaw, I will say the Honorable, and I say the Honorable not in any kind of way, but indeed he is indeed honorable, a friend, a mentor. So to you, Comrade Bradshaw, to all my sister who did the introduction, pleasant evening to you, to all other distinguished members of the United National Congress, and to my comrades in the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, and to some of the executive members of the MHA who are even here. I recognized Theo Henry, former exec member, and to every single person gathered here this afternoon, a pleasant and wonderful evening, and thank you for coming out. Pleasant evening all. Pleasant evening all. Right. I am Ernesto Kiza. Just briefly, I am the Executive Vice President of the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, and I bring you greetings on behalf of our President General, Council George Roger. But that's enough of all the fancy protocols and so on. You will realize, brothers and sisters, that my presentation may be a bit unorthodox, and I will be talking, and I do hope that I don't overtalk. I think Mr. Tilak Singh told me I have about 10 minutes, so I intend to use my 10 minutes wisely. Yes? In coming here, we are supposed to be looking at a proposal for pre-budget proposal. And I thank the UNC for inviting Labour here this evening to do this presentation. but that indeed I would have submitted the Labour's presentation to Mr. Tilok Singh and the executive of Point Fortin, and it's our proposal for 2024. So what I will be doing here this evening is just using the highlights and making it relevant or bringing it straight down to the borough of Point Fortin and to the soon-to-be, hopefully, the borough of Labre, even though we are part of the Superior Regional Corporation. So I will address this in that order. Now, brothers and sisters, I will save the issue of the oil field for last. Because if I start with the oil field, I wouldn't talk nothing else. I mean, comrades know, the brothers and sisters know that is the area that I know well. However, being in Point Fortin for the whole of my life, I just turned 50 last year. So, and I've spent every last moment of my life in Point. I live Point. I have my house is in Point. My businesses, I have a business and so on in Point. Everything is in Point. And I defend Point Fortin vigorously every single day. Brothers and sisters, it is unfortunate that in 2024, we are still having to call Point Fortin as a cliche that was coined by a good friend of mine. He's here today, calling Point Fortin the borough of sorrow. Yeah? And why it is being referenced like that? This place called Point Fortin was the first of many things. We just celebrated emancipation, and as the gentleman from Tobago, the Prime Minister has renamed it African Emancipation. I'm not going to comment on that today. Not today, according to another politician. Not today. But that the first celebration of emancipation took place in the borough of Point Fortin, 1984. And it was led by two distinguished gentlemen who have gone on to the realm of the ancestors, Mr. John Cupid and Mr. Lancelot Lane, who are, again, they are the brainchild. They were the brainchild, the brainchildren, if you want to put it like that, the fathers behind the celebration of emancipation. When nobody took them on, they came to Point, and some of us sitting right here were part of that. And I'm not going to talk about emancipation because this is not what this is about. But that because Point Fortin has been the first and has been deemed the cultural capital of not just Trinidad and Tobago, but of the world, but that Point Fortin does not have a cultural space for the arts. So my first presentation to the Honorable Opposition Leader through this year is that despite having successive, with only 1986 where Point was not under the People's National Movement, there has never been a time that anyone has advocated for a specific space for the arts and culture in the borough of Point Fortin. So that's the first thing. And why that? Why? Very simple. Apart from the esteemed and very auspicious calypso artists and soca artists, all of the cultural genres, from pan, calypso, chutney, gataka. Don't know where is gataka? Gataka? Gataka is borokit. But the Hindu version of borokit. Sidras and Kakas. I'm seeing Robert Darlington here, who I know used to play Tassa and things. Yes, I know your history, but I used to play Tassa. And that some of our leading Tassa groups came from in the deep south here. So that the richness of the culture of the borough of Point Fortin, brothers and sisters, does not match the poultry and very sub-representation of what Point Fortin should be and the economic benefits of investing heavy in putting a center for the performing arts in the borough of Point Fortin. So that's my first submission, brothers and sisters. And just to wind that up, two of the most esteemed creative directors would have passed on to the great beyond just recently. Deputy Mayor Marlon Richardson, former Deputy Mayor, and Mr. Arthur Lewis. Arthur Lewis is probably one of the greatest creative minds that has ever graced the shores of Trinidad and Tobago, born right in Point Fortin from Hubertstown. They have passed on, and the two organizations like Friends Creative Theatre and so on, but yet still there is not a center for the performing arts in Point Fortin. It used to be Civic Center, but a particular fella mashed it up and wanted to build a car park. If we go to the Civic Center now, it's still mashed up, and there is no car park. Moving on. My second submission has to do with this space right here, Coronation Park. Coronation Park is the largest recreation space in South Trinidad. Some say it's even larger than Skinner Park. I'm no technocrat, so I'm not going to debate. But Coronation Park, brothers and sisters, is a gold mine sitting down waiting to be explored. In 2020, on the election campaign, in the Movement for Social Justice campaign in particular, the candidate would have presented a plan for the development of Coronation Park. Now, that wasn't a political gimmick. It was well researched. Why? In Jamaica, Usain Bolt would have sent the entire sports tourism situation to a different level by encouraging top international athletes to come to Jamaica, and thereby the Jamaican economy, local economy, benefiting from things like bed and breakfast, things like training, things like masseuse therapy, massage therapy, things like sports psychologists, simple things as all the little tanties coming around and being able to sell their local dishes and so on. So that I propose, on behalf of Labour, the following. Coronation Park ought to be repurposed into a world-class training stadium where we have dormitories, where we have a proper cafeteria and so on, where we are able to properly well educate the surrounding, that's the Harriman Park, Tiche, Egypt and so on, so that they can prepare bed and breakfast and so on, so that we now encourage international, because brothers and sisters, we have one of the greatest sets of athletes. They are currently in the Olympics, and Jerome Richards right now going to run tomorrow, please God. Yes? And we have not capitalized from that, brothers and sisters. We have some of the greatest athletes in Trinidad and in the world coming from Point Fortin as well. And that we can now encourage these athletes to encourage their friends and their colleagues, even young upcoming athletes within the area, because I must hail out here and give respect to Point Fortin Civic Center Jets, now Point Fortin New Jets, Mr. McCrae. Now, brothers and sisters, we have to understand what this is. This is about local economic development for the borough of Point Fortin, which spans, in my opinion, that's not the boundaries, but for elections, Point Fortin is from KTO stretch straight down to Carcass. Not so? So when I say Point Fortin, the borough of Point Fortin, that is what I'm talking about, brothers and sisters, the constituency of Point Fortin. Thanks very much. So that we are now able to avoid persons having to spend thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars looking for scholarships, because we would have built a world-class facility right here. Now, brothers and sisters, the problem that we have here in Point has always been lack of representation. And we think that who is representing is the best. But why can't we get those world-class things that are associated with San Fernando and Shogunas and Port of Spain, when every single ounce of the resources that build all of those communities came from the constituency of Point Fortin? So that to wrap this up, because it's a very detailed plan that was developed. I mean, I saw the now Member of Parliament, Mr. Richards, mentioning that those issues here at Coronation Park in his plans, and if he's able to do it, thank you, happy. But brothers and sisters, this thing is about willpower, and that I encourage the leader of the opposition, because I know she has the willpower, because she's still here as the leader of the opposition, yes? So that I encourage Madam Leader of the Opposition, as she leads her team to make those budget present, that this development plan for Coronation Park, be included. Thirdly, I'm going straight down to Cedros and the carcass now. Now, the reason why I'm able to stand and rattle these things off, brothers and sisters, is that I'm sure I'm seeing some people sitting here, they would have heard these things before. And ask yourself, why is it that those things that are so near and dear to, that are critical, why have they not been implemented? Maybe because we never had an next party in power in Point Fortin. Something to think about, eh? But probably I'm speaking to the converters sitting here. And I know we live, so, well, we recorded, so hopefully when it's posted up, hopefully. So I'm saying this to say, brother, I'm going straight down to the peninsula, Cedros and the carcass. I've heard Councillor Shankar Tilak Singh speak about this many times in terms of developing the fishing industry and so on down there. Brothers and sisters, why is it that in spite of us echoing those sentiments, we have not seen it materialize in the way we want it to materialize? I remember as a young fella, the coconut industry was one of the largest in the carcass. And at that time, it was booming. Somebody came with a bright idea that coconut oil causing cholesterol. And they lick up the coconut industry. Now, coconut oil is the best thing since sliced bread. Yeah? Health food is health food now, yes? So I want to recommend, brothers and sisters, a bottle of coconut water right now, 2-liter bottle, and forgive me, is $80, eh? And in some cases, you're paying $120. A small bottle, which is a little, maybe the 5-ounce bottle, Cokes, you're paying $40 for that. Yet still, we are not exploring in great detail the revitalization of the coconut estates. And not just revitalizing just to grow coconut, no. You just have to go on the internet, brothers and sisters, and you see the vast amount of uses for coconut. I'm saying, brothers and sisters, while we see it on the internet and we look at it in India and parts of Eastern, of Asia and so on, why we have it here? Why can't we now put some focus on it, develop it, and get it restarted? In terms of agriculture, there's a massive project going on right now down Chatham, where I see the PNM is giving out land to young people and so on. My brothers and sisters, I'm going to say something here that some of you might disagree. Eh? I know now is election time. Election coming. So they're giving out all kind of thing, everything. Give it out. As I continue to say, and I say it without apology, whoever that I give, all take it. Take it from them and vote them out, brothers and sisters. I say it without apology, because I think by now people know that I speak without any emotions, brothers and sisters. It's nothing personal. So we ought to know that project in Chatham, where there's a large amount of state land, former Petrotrin lands, that is being cut up and given out as parcel for agriculture project. I say bravo. But let's go to the next level. We need to know publicly, because I have not seen that. All I've seen is when they're giving out land. I have not seen the details of that project in terms of who can access it, how many people have accessed it, how many people from the constituency of Point Fortin have accessed that land, how many people who may not be, or who, let me be careful about saying that. How many people who are genuine persons interested in agriculture, who have agriculture projects going on, who have a lot of things happening, who have a track record in agriculture, or in terms of a young person who's actually studying agriculture, how many of those persons have been given or given the opportunity to get those lands? You see, brothers and sisters, those lands are prime lands. I remember the group of persons who started that project down there long before the PNM took interest in it. And those group of persons, some of those are former Petrotrin workers. They took it upon themselves as a project to keep the young people there from going to crime. Now, again, a project like that needs to be magnified because there are state lands all over the place, brothers and sisters. Yes? There are state lands all over the constituency where that project could be replicated, and that persons who are desirable to access those lands for agriculture ought to be able to be given that opportunity. And not just stop there. I propose as well a local economic development fund. And how are we going to fund that fund? One of the ways is to float a bond. One of the ways is to look at the business community in the constituency and encourage them to invest in that fund and provide things like tax incentives and so on to them. And what is the purpose of that fund? That fund, brothers and sisters, could be used not just to ease off the strain of a NETCO, because not everybody could access NETCO. NETCO is national. I am talking about something that is resident in the economy of the constituency of Point Fortin, so that it is specific for us. Now, there is something, I know that the borough and I think UE they have something going on, but again, there continues to be a stigma that the party in power only shows interest in those who they believe belong to the party. That's a stigma, or that real? That's a question asking. That real? Real. Okay. Well, if it's real, then the more local economic fund that have for agriculture, then the better. So if it have one going on there, then there ought to be something else that is more accessible to the public, because I know of many, many persons who are planting land. As I say, we planting the land, we trying a thing. But there are many people who have been successful. They have acres of yam, acres of dashin, acres of corn, but it's not their land. They're squatting or they're renting. And I'm saying, while we plant, there is no facility to turn one of these products into something that we can benefit from down the value chain. So for example, Mr. Bradshaw spoke about TBTL and using cornmeal and using the corn and so on. There is no factory in the constituency that can convert all those acres of corn to cornmeal. And there's nobody doing packaging, so we could package that now and probably sell Point Fortin cornmeal. That's an example. Because brothers and sisters, we have been trained to just be food crop farmers. We have not been trained to benefit from the value chain and to set up proper industry out of agriculture so that we can benefit from the cost along the chain and thereby make more money and thereby create more employment and so on, brothers and sisters. But let me move on, because I know Mr. Tilak Singh will take out the hook this now and pull my neck this now. The bell? Have a bell? All right, good. Fourth thing, brothers and sisters. There is in reference to point number 1 about a cultural space and all the benefits derived from that cultural space, I want to propose for the consideration of both the Superior Borough Corporation and the constituency of Point Fortin the establishment of a festival and cultural management committee. I'll tell you what that is. We celebrate everything. We celebrate Christmas, Boxing Day, New Year's Day, Carnival, go into Husay, Lewa, we go into Spiritual Shouters Baptist Day, We go into Arrival Day, we go into Labor Day, and we go. We go practically every other month is a fest. And then Borrow Day, which is one of the biggest festivals after Carnival. These festivals, over the last couple of years, would have brought economic benefit primarily to persons that live outside of the constituency, particularly Borrow Day. And this is a pet peeve because I've been involved in it for quite a while. There is no way to track how much money passes through this constituency for Borrow Day. What you have is the politicians who are in charge, they will give you all sort of arbitrary figures. But let me refer you back to somewhere in the late 90s when KFC was doing the market research. KFC came down here with a tent, yes, and a caravan. They came Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then they made 1 million Trinidad and Tobago dollars profit over those 3 days in Point Fortin, right? The following year, they came, they occupied what we know as Lennox Stand. Yes, those original Point people know Lennox Stand. They came under Lennox Stand, which is where they are now, and they occupied. They didn't have no toilet facilities, and I don't want to say how they got that. I think because it's recorded. Those of us know how those public facilities were open. Some of us know what happened that caused that. The point I'm making, KFC came, Royal Castle came, and they are well established in Point. They have not left. They have not left. This is because the festivals in Point, particularly Borrow Day, Carnival, and now Carnival in Cedras and Icacas is even bigger than Carnival in Point Fortin. Yeah? I'm saying, brothers and sisters, we have to find a way to derive economic benefit and to ensure that the people who live here can access freely opportunities to make a dollar during these festivals. Because what happens is that the very large businesses, and they have to do what they have to do, that's fine, but there's no regulation. There's except through the borough, of course, and brothers and sisters, the borough has its challenges. I ain't going short. I ain't come here for that, brothers. I ain't come here for that. In our next space, we go deal with that, yeah? But that we need some, now what I'm proposing here was proposed way back in 1994, somewhere around there, and it didn't get light of day because it meant that the mayor's office and the councillors and so on, you'll be taking away some of their oversight because you're now putting that in the hands of a community committee led by a chairperson and a group of persons who now have to be accountable to the CEO and to the relevant line ministry. And there's a dotted line relationship to the politics, not a direct line. In other words, that community group of persons who will be running that committee will be elected or selected by persons of the by members of the constituency. Again, I didn't come to go through all the details, but at the immediate benefit of things like that, you can regulate the amount of outside persons that will come to set up things like clothing and food and so on, and have a specific quota for people from library and Point, because I'm always inundated with complaints, particularly for Borrow Day. Persons who are sole traders, they are unable to be given a space in the main. They don't have the money to put out to come on the main road to get sales. They don't have the capacity. But if it is indeed for the benefit of the burgesses, then the burgesses ought to be given first preference all the time to access that benefit during all of these festivals. Yes? Finally, brothers and sisters, because I seen the bell coming. Let me close this down. Let me close down this. I'm gonna put this away. Let me go into. I just want to read as a close, and in reading, you will probably recognize, those of you, what I'm responding to. This is page 50. It's a publication that was developed in 1985 by Comrade George Weeks and the Oilfields Workers Trade Union. And his title, the Oilfields Workers Trade Union, our fight for the people's ownership and control of the oil industry. A memorandum submitted to the government of Trinidad and Tobago by the Oilfields Workers Trade Union on the nationalization of the oil industry, September 1982, as this here. It's an old publication, and I'll read an excerpt. It said here that then and there is the government sector, being dependent on oil in the oil industry for 63% of its revenue. The government development plans are directly affected by the fortunes of the oil industry. Between 1974 and 1981, the revenue from the oil industry totaled a huge 18 billion 75,000.4 million, well, $18 billion. We estimated that a reduction of 5% in the oil company taxation will result in an immediate decline of 200 million in government revenue. Additionally, the reduction in refinery throughput affects the government revenue by some 16 US for every barrel of oil. Over the years 1977 to 1981, it is estimated that the government was deprived by Texaco some $150 million. Pay attention. I'm reading here. This is a publication on the OWTU, and highlights about the decade of the union since 1937. This was on our 80th anniversary. It says here, 1983, with an ongoing struggle with Texaco, it was geared at Texaco's desire to force an early retirement through the threat of retrenchment or shutdown. In addition to Texaco's early retirement struggle, the union faced a growing decrease in membership that year. Thus, while on one hand, 400 workers of the state-owned secondary roads joined the union, Holiday Foods and the food processing company closed its doors, while 14 contracted outfits in the oil industry engaged in retrenchment. By September 1983, the union's membership had fallen by 1,300. Since September 1982, multinational company Texaco had threatened to send workers home on the 1st of October. They demanded a reduced in taxation from the state and an agreement on retrenchment from the union. Now, where am I going with this, brothers and sisters? Recently, you heard the Honorable Prime Minister state that Mr. Jindal of the famous Indian businessman from India would have bowed out of his request to be considered to be one of the bidders for the refinery. And one of the reasons Mr. Rowley stated is that it was the opposition's fault by character assassination and so on. He read out a purported letter and so on. But in his address to his constituency in Diego Martin, according to the media's account, Mr. Rowley went on to say that it is the PNM that saved the oil field. It is the PNM that went and buy the refinery. And if the PNM didn't buy the refinery, the Texaco was going to leave and was going to sell the refinery. But what I just read for you, brothers and sisters, it was the greed and the demand by Texaco and Shell at that time for decrease in taxation and more benefits to them that they threatened the country with sending home 2,000 workers. And that at that time, this was 1982, George Weeks and the entire rebel movement and the whole trade union movement decided that, listen, we know how to run the oil field. Yes? And it is time Texaco must go. And that was a national campaign, brothers and sisters. It wasn't the PNM that said, well, okay, we like thing. I mean, no! The truth is the truth. And it is recorded in history, brothers and sisters, that it was the labor movement that battled Texaco and stood up to defend the fact that Trinidad and Tobago needed to get the right amount of taxes from Texaco. And to do that, we had to get rid of Texaco. Now, people didn't understand that at the time, and maybe that was the best decision at the time. But let's look down the road, and I agree with Mr. Bradshaw. Over the years, the same local managers Indian and African CEOs and high-level managers in the refinery and in the fields, over the years, they turned out to be just as bad or even worse than Texaco. So much so that some of the older oil workers say the worst thing we ever do is get rid of the white people. I surely heard that already. Yeah? It's sad to say, but I surely heard that already. Fast forward to 2018. You see, brothers and sisters, the truth will come out. It coming out peace, 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 peace. But the con job was so well done that they have convinced that they played on the fears and the emotions of many of us in the public. They played on those who don't like Roger, who don't like the union movement, and so they played well. But the fact remains, brothers and sisters, Petrotrin had a 850,000 million US by a 350,000 million US debt that was caused by Malcolm Jones because of WGTL. That's the facts. The fact remains, brothers and sisters, that up to 2018, the end of the fiscal year, I was now looking at Petrotrin declared a profit, an after-tax profit of 1.16 billion Trinidad and Tobago dollars. That's a fact, brothers and sisters. The fact remains as well, brothers and sisters, that at no point in time did Petrotrin default on their loan. Brothers and sisters, the refinery as we know it was built in 1917. And at that time, the refinery was refining some 380-something barrels of oil. That went down. And at that time, we were importing crude. Yes, I'm seeing Mr. Moore, who's an old man, a old refinery man himself. Brothers and sisters, listen to me. Do your research. You go and research for yourself. Don't take my words. It have Google. Although I don't trust Google, but it have Google. Google does have information. Go on Google and you see for yourself. We were always importing oil. A matter of fact, Malcolm Jones himself, God rest his soul, he told Prime Minister Manning, then God rest his soul as well, back in between 2006 and 2008, that you didn't need to produce oil in the fields. They shut down 8 platforms in Southwest Soldado in 2007 in the main field. And those were some of the main producing platforms. They shut it down. And the reason is, under the guise of integrity issues, as one. But the main reason is that they said they don't need to buy oil anymore. To produce local oil, we'll buy oil. And that is why, when you create a story, you must remember all of the points of the story you created, because sometimes you just forget what you're saying. So on one hand, you shut down the refinery because we had to buy oil. On the next hand, you say it was the debt. On the next hand, you say it's because the labor cost, a carpenter was getting $60,000. Make up your mind. What is the real reason you shut down the refinery and send on Petrotrin workers, brothers and sisters? What is the reason? Now, I'm not here for that. Not tonight. But I wish to say, brothers and sisters, and I make a statement to the leader of the opposition here, ma'am, I'm asking you, upon your success at the general elections 2025, please reopen the refinery immediately. Now, that's a broad statement. That's a broad statement. Now, I'm saying here because I know when this goes on social media, what is going to happen. And personally, but once I speak the matter of truth, because I stand here in good faith and in the spirit of truth, and I'm telling you, go and research it for yourself. Stop listening to politicians who have their agenda, and they have their agenda for them and their friends. I'm also saying, brothers and sisters, it is time that when we put people in power, that at some point in time, when they are getting you, wanting you to vote for them because they have an agenda, you must ensure that your agenda as working people, as poor people, as normal people is also fulfilled. So, Trinma, for example, Trinma was an entire community. As it is now, it is limited only to the workers who are able to go down there. Trinma created cottage industries for persons who go there to sell different things, sell food, sell sometimes items of clothing, medicine, all different things. It created that opportunity. The people who worked there, because they lived in Point Fortin primarily, they would have had the knockoff effect of spending their money in Point Fortin. We are saying, brothers and sisters, that type of, it may never be recreated or never come back, but at least what needs to happen, the Trinma base needs to be reopened and accessible to persons who wish to benefit from the immediate economic development of the workers being there and having access. Do you know, brothers and sisters, there's not even a canteen down on the base anymore? So if you have to get things to eat, you have to make sure and either have food prepared from home, buy it, or stay hungry, brothers and sisters. People used to go there and sell, so there was an access. People could have gotten direct economic benefits from accessing Trinma base. There's this issue of having a one-stop shop. I see that they are turning the main office into a one-stop shop. I don't know what I mean. I've seen the documentary, but I still don't know what I mean. And I don't know who is the contractor doing the work. But I hope, brothers and sisters, that main office, that they can return at least the medical, boy, I've seen it. Okay. All right, time up. I'm going to hurry up. They can return a medical center there, even if we have to pay something small, so that not just because not having a proper medical center in the main office anymore, it has placed a triple-time strain on the local health facility in Point Fortin, so that persons who would have been able to go there and access, now we have everybody now going down to the Point Fortin hospital, right? Which is no problem, but again, persons would have spent their monies and so on. Now, the final thing, final, because there's plenty more, but final, with a refinery being reopened, the immediate benefits, access to foreign exchange, access to immediate economic development in the entire Southwestern Peninsula. But you know what I just want to talk about is this. With the refinery and the access to foreign exchange, what will happen now is that persons, you would see things like having access to more credit, increase on your credit, a simple thing as that credit. You see, they don't want to admit it, brothers and sisters. We have not divested our economy. And as a result, we are dependent. It is simply because of pig-headedness. Yes? Pig-headedness. And the fact that we are holding an agenda for a small group of persons. That is why that refinery is not. So I'm calling again on the present Prime Minister and the Leader of the Opposition to whatever has to be done, ensure that refinery, when open, it stays in local hands. And indeed, I put in a plug that the workers and the workers' organization take full charge of the refinery. I want to thank you. Thank you. There's lots more, but I just get the hook. Thank you very much. Thank you, and have a pleasant night. Thank you.
So let's hear it. Put your hands again for Comrade Kiza and the Oilfield Workers Trade Union team that are with us here tonight. Again, the note had to pass because we want to hear from you. The objective of this session is to hear from the burgesses of the both Labre and Point Fortin constituency. As you would have, both speakers would have break the ice in terms of the discussion, in terms of the expectation, and also your recommendation from the national budget. So we'll go straight. Comrade Kiza read some interesting points that is noted. The sugar industry, cocoa industry, coffee industry, and so on. Again, those are some of the things that we want to move from exporting these raw material than to manufacture it right here and create economic turnaround within our country, within our community, and so on. So fishing industry is another one. We take fish and we just sell. We don't actually process. So those are some of the things that we want to hear from you, your ideas, your recommendations. So our political leader, opposition leader, will have that tool to deal with them in the parliament. So we open up the floor. Feel free. Raise your hand, your name, and where you live, and we going forward. So the floor is open. Just make your way through here. I see Pastor Ram is here with us. Come straight forward and make your contribution. At least 3 minutes, and the bell will ring. So we have almost around 70, 75 persons.
A pleasant good night. I want you to know I live at Chinket Street, Captiville, where the boardwalk is the. May you know how much years now, and that boardwalk cannot finish. They put a drain. I was the FOS in the hospital, and I had to tell the contractor, listen, you don't try so. You have to try from so. So all the water coming inside of the church. And when the rainfall, I'm talking about rainfall, and they ask Ministry of Works, ask the people them to come, and all the neighbors run the line in that drain. That is the wastewater. So all the wastewater going inside of the church. I went to the MP. The MP said, well, he tell me straight. He said, Mr. Ram, I come by you for prayers, and I was very sick, and I know I'm good to go. But I want you to know now, this is not no prayers. This is water coming down from heaven, rainwater. So when the rainwater fall, the whole church, and I'm also a married officer. So we have wedding going on, a whole star water just coming. And the government, present government, do nothing about that. All of them know. Ministry of Works people came. And when they come and say, I say, yes, sir. And when I watch them, I said, this type of drain, I said, I was the FOS, and I pulled my thing and I showed. I said, look. I say, you doesn't use. The engineer, I asked them if they buy the license or what. No, I tell you the truth. I said, being as a referent, I actually question them because how the thing built straight inside of my house. Inside of the back room, full of water, and in the church. So we asking them now we asking for something because Ministry of Works, they say they come and they never do nothing. So I'm asking, right? Because they end up say they will put it in the hand of Siparia Corporation, and and we thankful, right, that our county councillor he tell us that he will try his best to see what could be done, but the water continue coming in the church. But when rain fall, so
I hope Rohan Sinan take ownership of that, because I see disowning all his responsibility in terms of what is happening down in Chinkatrice and what is going on with that project, because it's a nightmare in terms for the residents in Chinkatrice. The contractor actually damaged the roadway, and it's now the throw the responsibility to the regional corporation for assistance to the residents in that area. And that will be addressed as we continue to work with you, Pastor. So we have another resident who would want to come forward. Don't feel shy. This is your time, your opportunity. I see Mr. Brent Clark is coming forward. I see a comrade from there. So after that, just come forward and state your name and where you reside.
All right. Well, good night. My name is Restream Kisun. I'm from Jacob Settlement, Santa Flora. Now, I fall under the Labrie constituency. And I will say this, I am disappointed in the way my community and my constituents are represented by Mr. McClashy, because I had to be honest, I don't see the guy. Now, I have a list, and I might have to wrap it off, or if I could actually panel, if I don't mind submitting this to you all. So I will go down and just you tell me time up. Okay. Right? So Mr. Kisa made a point that the mineral wealth comes from the southwestern peninsula. And we actually don't get anything for that. And I mean, everybody, the majority of us are blue-collar families. And as blue-collar families, which seems to be kind of being cut by the policies of this government, I would like to propose, well, the first thing I would like to propose is that the police officers needs to be equipped with pens, pencils, stationery, equipment to do their jobs, because that is important for court purposes. Now, when we as citizens or crime victims go in the police station, we have been told, my family have experienced this personally. We don't have any report, or we don't have any vehicles to come to help. And that is disturbing, because your motto is to protect and serve. And I will say this resource shortfall falls directly under the Ministry of National Security. Why is it that this allocation that comes from the budget is billions of dollars you all give? Why can't it trickle down to our area, considering that our area contributes so much to the economy? At least you should give our policemen some equipment to do the job. Now, secondly, healthcare. Health centers on, well, I didn't want to say it like this, but here goes. Health centers are from between the hours of 8 to 4. So if you have an emergency, please tell it to wait for between the hours of 8 to 4, because at that point in time, that is when you will get treatment. And also tell that to hold on, because 8 to 4, that is it. I would like to propose that funding be given to this side. I mean, I'm speaking for Labre, but I know this is the majority at Trinidad and Tobago, unfortunately. Mr. Dial Singh, please propose that the health sector gets the proper doctors and put them on shifts. This coming from a plain old citizen like myself. Put them on shifts, create employment. Why can't we get 24 hours service from the health centers? Right, so now maintenance of grounds, playgrounds, drainage. I mean, Rev, you made a good point. The water doesn't stay in the drain. It does be on the side of the drain because they don't really maintain anything. Not bashing the councillors though, because I understand that I have a resource problem. So, Minister of Finance, please do your job. Allocate the resources necessary to get our drains clean, because we contribute to your salary as well. Now, people talk about Petrotrin closing down, but there is an area, well, the other side of Labre, which is Sobo, in the back of Palo Seco. There's the beach camp. Beach camp has burned down. That has destroyed the dreams and aspirations of our youths, because they wanted to actually utilize that and probably have events there. Some of them are Calypsonians, some of them are soca stars, and beach camp burned down and nobody said nothing. Petrotrin was funding that program. But opposite beach camp now, there's a woodworking shop. Fully equipped woodworking shop with nothing. We have the resources there, and it is doing absolutely nothing. It just sits there and it will rust soon. So hopefully the budget will be in time and all you go fix that. How long is the time? 5 minutes? All right, I could say one more thing. All right, so repeal the discriminatory property tax, please. And put in a fair contributionary system that all citizens could go, because if we don't pay property tax, you tie it into the boroughs and again funded, but let me be honest, the boroughs being not funded anyway, so more money at that going to do what exactly? Come on, man, we aren't stupid. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Rampersad, and you raised some very interesting points that will, at least will be part of the process. That note will be sent to the, when we do the minutes, we'll forward it to the political leader. Again, the floor is open. I see another gentleman, a stalwart of Point Fortin in the area of sports, is coming here. So let's welcome him, Mr. Claxon.
Good night, everybody. Good night to the head table. My name is Remington Claxon. I am from Captiville. Yes, 3 minutes. Well, I know much of you all know me, but I am well known within the area of Point Fortin Library and CJUS. One of my things I just always say, if we're looking for betterment and for development, we need to get young people involved. Sport is one of the ways we get young people involved. Yes, education is good, but education without a trade and without sports, none of them can achieve and go nowhere. I know Jerry Richards and them brothers personally. When time he's here, he always come and check me. And I will always tell people, Mr. Keys have done a very beautiful thing. We have what's this big area we have here? Nothing is done. They say they build a state-of-the-art facility in Mahaika. It don't have a gym there. It don't have a proper changing room there. You tell me when you have an event in Mahaika, we don't even have a proper 220 system. You have to get a generator to run there. Come on, and these things are what we are talking about. If we want to develop the area of Point Fortin and Trinidad and Tobago, one of our most well-known Olympic athlete, Mr. Arthur Bolton, said it very well. We have nothing to win for the next 20 years. Because why? We are not developing, and we want the opposition leader, when they go, to let the sports minister invest in sport, invest in youth. Help build Trinidad and Tobago. I hear the Prime Minister made a statement, but since I am growing up, I know emancipation of his emancipation. I hear he say it is now African Emancipation Day. Come on. Earlier, time is coming. Election is near. Very sad to think. These are the things we need to help develop the young people in Point Fortin and Trinidad and Tobago. Sport is where most of these young people get scholarship to go forward and to bring. So I am asking that if we're looking to do things in Point Fortin and within the budget, let's get money developed into sports and to help develop these facilities that we are having, because none of the facilities within the area of Point Fortin is properly kept. And a man, has been doing sports for many years, and I am saying it is not where I wanted to see it. So thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Remington. I just want to touch on two issues that came up here. One is the Chatham development, and the last one is the one at the Palasico Beach Camp. Those are two projects that we have through the regional corporation no information on. And I will tell you something, I raised it at the consultation they had for the refurbishment of the Chatham water plant when the MP raised an issue. The Chatham development, those acreage are being given out for housing and so on. There is no approval from or no documentation that or no requests from the line ministry to the regional corporation for any sort of a development of that project. There's no information. I make that point to say that when you has to build a house, there is stringent process through tongue and country, CMOH, the medical, and also through the borough corporation. Those roads and those drains are being developed under the ministry, has no approval from the Sipara Borough Corporation, and it will be handed over, both the beach camp project and also that project. So it is, again, a disrespect from the line ministry, Foster Cummins ministry, that no communication come to the regional body, but they're going around and advertising and giving out lands to persons out of the borough or the southwest from the Sipara Corporation and the Point Fortin Borough Corporation. All those people are coming outside. And I want to raise a flag there. I see my communication specialist and manager is here with us today. Raise a flag. Because at the last local election, 4,800 was put at the Cedras district. But we want to tell them something. You could do what you want. You could run. But you see Cedras, don't interfere with Cedras and feel you're going to do vote up at it now. So again, questions. Let's have it going first. I saw Mr. Clark has raised his hand. Come forward and make your contribution.
Question 5.
Okay, I'll grant it. The time's up now.
Good night, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Mr. Keyser, a professional track environment was tried to start in Point Fortin at one time. You made mention of that while it was. Brent Clark from Point Fortin. It ended before it started. Corruption, when they realized the potential it had in making money, conversation started to come up that some of us didn't want to be a part of, and it collapsed. Hopefully we could get that change in the future. I would like to make it might not be familiar with a number of you all here. In the international world, there's development taking place. There's what was referring to as de-dollarization taking place in the international community, where countries are now coming off the US dollar and trading within their own currency amongst themselves. How is Trinidad viewing this, and how are we going to react to this? I would like to know. There are a number of benefits from a number of countries that have actually seen better with de-dollarization. What is Trinidad and Tobago's role with this change of events that is taking place? I would like to know, like the political leader, to make mention of what direction that would be taken for the country of Trinidad and Tobago. Also, currently, the Trump administration openly said they intend to destabilize Venezuela. It was not hidden, he said it openly, and he said he wanted the oil. By him destabilizing Venezuela, it will affect Trinidad. We have already seen it happen about 4 or 5 years ago. In the budget, has anything been placed on a national security level to plan for that ahead of time? That is very critical for the safety of the people in Point Fortin, Cedras, and environ. We all know what takes place with a lot of the Venezuelan people who travel. You're not allowed to wear gold. You're not allowed to do a number of different things when you travel to Venezuela. They tell you, do not wear it, do not do this, do not do that. And these people are migrating here with a very poor system documentation for them when they enter the country. You could go down on Erin Beach practically every day. You see boat coming and going with Venezuela. I don't know how much it happens in Cedras, but I could talk from an Erin side. And everybody here, that's a plain public fact. That happens in Trinidad and Tobago, and nothing is happening in terms of national security with it. I would like to see something put specifically for the event that the destabilization that's taking place in Venezuela, for the protection of Trinidad and Tobago for Trinidad. Also,
countries are also selling a lot of currencies are tied to gold and not the US dollar. What is the direction Trinidad is taking with regards to that aspect? These long-term planning will actually protect us from a lot of backlash later on if we plan for it early. I would like to know what the government is doing with regards to that and how the opposition would be planned to deal with these type of changes that is taking place in the international community and international market. These are the things that I would like to see talked about in the national budget and the response for Trinidad and Tobago coming up. Thanks.
Very good point in terms of our border protection. And that's something that we have been lacking in terms of equipping our security agencies with the necessary equipment for border protection and so on. Most of our vessels are packed up in Chagaramas, and those are very important point, Mr. Clark, and it is noted so that our political leader can respond and get the response from the, well, we have two national security ministers now, and I know which one is. One, very soon you might see Coast Guard men and women with bicycle running on vessels. So, you know, that we have to be, I think so. So, again, let's get it going. I know we have a lot of people here. That's hence the reason why the time was dropped from 5 minutes to 3 minutes. So, who else will be coming up to share their views or raising the issues? Anyone? I tell you the back. I see the people who are sitting in the back has to make their contribution first. That was the first statement in the opening of this thing. So why the women are shy? Right, look, as I say, give her a round of applause. Break the ice so we'll see more of you come and make the statement.
A pleasant good evening, comrades all. My name is Crystal Bernard, firstly. I am a branch officer with the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, Faizabad Palaseco branch. I'm also a member of the Movement for Social Justice. I didn't hear a clap for that. And I'm also a mother, and also try my best. Yes, Red Clark is my cousin, and I'm also trying my very best to contribute as best as I could to my community. I would have served on my village council for about 5 years as the president. I'm not the current president, but I would have served in the previous executive. The reason why I would have called persons here comrades this evening is because a comrade is a person who shares your vision, shares your mission, shares your goals, has been in the trenches with you, continues to be in the trenches with you, and serves as a true friend. That's what a comrade is. We sitting here, I believe the reason why we are here is because we have a shared goal, a shared vision, a shared mission in the upcoming general election. The first thing I would like to expand on is it would be really remiss of me to stand here and not speak about the Petrotrain worker. I myself, I'm a past Petrotrain worker. There would have been ministers coming to the public and stating that, you know, Petrotrain workers would have been given a grand handshake as we were unceremoniously sent home. And for those of us, firstly, can I see by show of hands who believes that? Is there anybody here who believes that? That Petrotrain workers would have been fired and all given a grand handshake to go home. Right. So I would like to say categorically, the fired part is true, but the grand handshake is far from true. Not everybody was given a grand handshake. And a lot of homes were left in shambles because of the closure of Petrotrain and because of the commitments that a lot of especially young workers would have had and had to continue to either bear, forego, or just completely forget the trajectory of your dreams and your goals and your aspirations because of what was done by no fault of our own. More than the fact that we were fired, I do not believe that enough was put in place for the expatriate worker to be reintegrated into the world of work. And the reason why I say that is because most times, if you didn't get an opportunity to get back into the formal workplace, most persons would have decided to retool and become an entrepreneur. Retooling was also a challenge because most of the training programs would have been set for persons from 18 to 35. A lot of fireys were older than 35. So in trying to access programs, air condition, to learn the skill, to learn any of the other skills that the government would have been given the opportunity, you would have had to fall between 18 and 35. So a large number of workers fell out of that. So we now had to find ways, if you were not able to get back into that formal system, to be able to be re-employed or to have some type of income. Secondly, I truly believe our crime situation today is directly related to the COVID-19 pandemic and the inability of the education system to really provide for students who would have fallen off the grid. We had a lot of students who were between, let's say, the age 15 and 17, who were just set to begin CSEC, is what they call it, their exams. And because of COVID, they would have fallen off the grid. Whether it's their parents couldn't afford anymore, they just were not going to school, they could not keep up with the online programming. And I believe not enough was done to go in search of those students and to really put something in place to have them gain the education and gain the tools to really be able to go out into society and get a job. And if you look at the correlation between the ages, now I'm not saying everyone, but if you look at the ages of the young men, and in some cases women, who are being held in relation to crime and criminality, it's the very same ages that 18 to 25, 16 to 25 age group. So I'm really hoping that I see the opposition leader in terms of having that compassion and that heart for people, that you would really seek out these persons who would really need an intervention to be able to move forward with their lives. What has really come, and finally, what has really come to us, to roost, is that saying that we would have heard from the current leader, current prime minister, to tighten your belt. Well, we have gotten to a point where we can no longer tighten our belts. There's nothing left to tighten. And what's happening now is the man who can no longer tighten his is coming to tighten yours. And it's real, because he doesn't have, but he's looking at me, who has a small shop, thinking I have, and coming to tighten my belt for me, coming to take what I have. So I will say that we really have to take a look at where we are in our society, what we are really asking our citizens to do, because we can no longer sustain this tightening of the belt that they are asking us to do. So I really do hope, come 2025, when the new administration, whatever composition it takes, that they listen to the cries from the ground and they really do some things to implement and to really save our society, save our young people, and save our workers. Thank you.
See why I had to give the extra time? So again, put your hand together. Good contribution from Palaseco. Okay, the floor is open. I see a comrade to the back. Yellow is the code? No.
Okay, pleasant good night, everybody. My name is Denison Pierre, representing Point Fortin.
Right, well, I have a little topic book here. My first topic is gas. Since I live in Point Fortin, we've been asking for a 24 hours gas station. We ain't get it yet. And I say, let's stop raise the topic. So we're comfortable with the 9 o'clock closing at the gas station. So we do have a quick shop in Point Fortin here. Right, that's going too fast as possible. Food. The city giving away land spot in Chatham for the development of the youths. You know, where you could go and get a job, a stable job, a sniping. But as Mr. Tiloxen said, there's no word on the streets that how to apply for the land. You know, even the work structure, I went and applied to see if I got a job down there also as a contractor, and I was turned away about 7 times. Getting to know that it's a private contractor from the PNM doing ratchet-free work. Right? So, moving on again, I just come to get the feedbacks. Water. Nobody have no problem with water still. I still have problems with my water in my tap. All the water plants in Point Fortin are messed up. If you want the structural plan itself, it's bushy, all the pipe rotten out. I'm going too fast. Crime, oh my gosh. Normally you used to hear crime in Diego Martin environs, further than Point Fortin. Now all the crime is taking place in Point Fortin and there's no results. There's nobody getting arrested for murders in Point Fortin. If you're from Point Fortin, how often you say about murders in Point Fortin? Not often. Am I correct? Yeah. Right, but at this point, in present moment here, there are a lot of murders going on in Point because there are no jobs for the younger educational people who doesn't have the sense like I used to have to go and sit down and relax and wait. So they are getting up early in the morning and studying what to do. Crime. Last but not least, road. Every year. It stopped from here now. Now it's months. Every 2 months they're fixing the road because what's that breaking up road every day. So the budget needs to fix on them 5 topics. Crime, road, gas, and water. Like my points.
Short and sweet and at the point. Yes, Comrade Pierre. All right, so we have anyone else that come? I mean, we want to try to kind of close within our timing. So I see Comrade White. Comrade White, you want to raise some issues? I know you're always on the social media. Now is the time for you to be documented and your voices could be extended to the parliament.
Yes. Say a pleasant good night. You know, to your table. Tell everyone you call it good night. I just tend to go a slightly different direction because all people say they say that they affect all of us. My name, as the good gentleman they call us, is Nigel White from the Tisha Guapa area. I work consistency. As people, we do our consistency in terms of representation across the board. So when we start one thing, and when it start, we say one thing, and when it said the thing for it to happen is not really they don't happen. I hear we have our administration say that if we close down Petrotrin, that we will get better hospital, roads, beds, you know, things will be better for us. They're still making money with heritage and Paria, but yet still gas price moved from was $3 and something cents to $6 and something cents now. Where the profit from that already come for you, the people, me and you. Because the price of the gas is double. So all they're talking about is increase, and you increase it there is what we pay for. It has no business sense. It's just me and you that's paying more for it. Right? So when you see some of these people talk, and I mean, I'm not always in favor of the UNC's position sometimes, because I feel UNC as a party also could have done more in terms of voicing their concerns to represent us in South here also. They're not really believe so, right? And I feel to some extent now going forward, they have an opportunity now to make amendments, right, going forward. And we have to be real as people first and foremost to identify the challenges we have inside before we try the challenges outside. If we can identify, if a supporter of UNC can tell Mr. Tiloxen, here what's going on, you see a statement made the other day, you see what I do the other day, then so can be afraid to tell them that, then something wrong. We must be able to tell people here what's happening, where they're falling short, where they get off, or where direction to go. And if we can't say that, then we're ready yet. That is my position. We're talking about crime. My answer to this whole thing is the system. Our system has broken down. We can talk about what kind of our system has broken down from top
to bottom, the system. We have no system. What controls what? We have so much laws on the books that is not implemented, we put more laws. But here what's going on. We have right now we have some lazy people in government. They want revenues, but here the revenues they want. Property tax, more industry rates, higher water rates, tint rate, traffic offense. Come on, I mean, this is what it is. They intend to raise revenues by. So you buy a piece of land for $250,000. You pay taxes, you clear taxes. You go by the bank, you borrow some money, they charge interest on that. You go by the hardware, you buy material, you pay tax on the material, you build your house, when you're done, your house costs you $2.5 million. That way it says your house. But how it could be yours when after that now you have to pay a property tax? And if it is you can't pay a property tax, what happens after? So I'm saying is that at the end of the day, people, we really don't have property. So all of us who feel whatsoever it is, and listen to me, skillfully again, they're going to come with more ways to get more money from me. Because here's what's happening. We're paying 25% in PAYE. You're paying 12.5% in VAT. You're paying health surcharge. You're paying NIS. You're paying water rate. You're paying light bill. Property tax coming. When you're done, out of your $1, you're going to pay our 80 cents. Back to the government, I got 20 cents. Where you going to do 20 cents, right? Exactly. So I'm saying as a people, we have to look at the collective issues that affects all of us. And if we can do that, look at the collective issues and deal with the collective issues, I think we will go somewhere. Thank you very much.
Well said, Comrade White. Well said, Comrade. And yes, the Burgesses from CJRS does come, and we had the conversation, and they do have the necessary language to respond. Mr. Moore, before you leave, there's some light refreshment before you leave, so you could just check to the back and we're good. Yeah? Sure. All right, so do we have any more persons who want to make a contribution? If not, we would try to, okay. Pastor Ram, you want to go? I'll give you 1 minute. Eh? Not 3 minutes this time. One question. 1 minute. Before we close, we want to close up. Sure.
Yeah. There's a master outbreak of the mosquitoes in the whole of Point and in Captiville and CJRS. And we want something to done as fast as possible because the drain that they have down there is a breeding place for mosquito. And dangerous, they have all colors.
Right, and definitely we would probably have to send a note or a notice in terms of a charge for the Minister of Health, because that falls within his responsibility in terms of having the necessary resources to deal with the present mosquito outbreak at this point in time. So in closing, I want move a vote of thanks to all of you here tonight of coming, leaving your homes and coming out and sharing your experience in the community and also your expectation for the national budget. I want to say thanks to Kivan and our communication manager or official who is here with us, Cook. Thank you for taking the time and coming and also being present. I want to say thanks to the persons who prepared their light refreshments. There's light refreshments this evening to the back. Stay and partake. Let's have our camaraderie as we, I hope that we pray that we return safe to our home and continue to at least the struggle facing our communities and working together, as Comrade White say, joining arms in the trenches, and the comrade from Palaseco continue to fight the Keith Rowley administration, putting our political leader and the next Prime Minister of this country, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, as we know, we deliver from 2010 to 2015 and will continue to deliver from 2025 to 2030 and beyond. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.